Hey, it's your pal Sully. I'm at PayPal Park in San Jose. That's the home of the Earthquakes. One of the teams that are currently owned by John Fisher. And unlike the other one, this stadium's already built.
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans. Welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. You could follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I'm your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast, but the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTubes. And leave your comments. I do read them, and very soon this week, we are going to be doing a mailbag episode. So, as I mentioned, here we are. We're at easy for you to say, PayPal Park. You always want to make sure there's a lot of alliterations in your park names. This is the home of the San Jose Earthquakes, which are, I think, still currently owned by John Fisher. And I think today, they didn't invite me to the groundbreaking ceremony in Las Vegas, but I figured I should come to a Fisher Stadium. And it was in, I guess this was just an easier drive for me to get here than to the Oakland Coliseum, which I'm not sure what's happening there tonight, but I know it's nothing to do with the A's. So here's the deal. I'm going to try to be positive at first, because I have said a lot of things about the A's, the move away from Oakland, the secret move to Sacramento. Shh, don't tell people that's where they're playing. And of course, I don't have issues with the move to Las Vegas. I have subscriptions. But let's talk about something that happened today. There was the groundbreaking ceremony that was in Las Vegas. And it was on the site that used to be the Tropicana Hotel, which was the first hotel I ever stayed at in Las Vegas. And Dallas Braden introduced it. I watched the ceremony. So you didn't have to. And Dallas Braden, who was one of the announcers for the Sacramento Athletics and was, of course, a huge hero for the A's when he famously threw his perfect game on Mother's Day, and I believe that was 2010. And he introduced it. And look, he is an employee of the Sacramento A's. He's a company man. And so, by the way, you may hear an airplane or two. PayPal Park is right next to San Jose Mineta International Airport. So they didn't let me shut down the airport for this particular episode. He's going to say the right things. And he talked about his connection to the A's, and he also grew up in his uncle and his father helped build several of the big hotels, including the New York Hotel and the big pirate ship thing they had there. So we talked about his connection to the A's and to Las Vegas and how it broke, how it warms the cockles of his heart. And then there were, John Fisher spoke, and Commissioner Manfred spoke, and then there was a local politician named Steve Yeager, who made it clear he's not the same Steve Yeager who was the co-MVP of the 1981 World Series. And then Governor Joe Lombardo, the governor of Nevada. Is it Nevada or Nevada? Let's just call the whole thing off. They all spoke, and they all said the right things. Like, oh, we're so thrilled to be here. And everyone spoke as if it was an Oscars acceptance speech. I want to thank this person or that person. And they also had several Make-A-Wish kids come out and introduce the speakers, and they had a kid who was a big star for the local Little League team who threw a no-hitter to get the Nevada Little League team into the Little League World Series, and they had some members of the girls softball league come out and speak and say, I'm a native of Las Vegas, and I wanted a team, and this is a dream come true. The Make-A-Wish kids who introduced John Fisher, I was thinking while I was watching it, those kids got the short end of a stick. I mean, like, whose Make-A-Wish is going to be to meet John Fisher? But I digress. I also bit my lip there. You may have noticed that. I'm not going to edit that out. But, everyone said the right things. And it was a fine enough press conference. And they had everyone gets their little, A's hat and the gold shovels. And they dug into the dirt and fired off a green and gold confetti cannon. And there was your ceremony. It was odd that they weren't actually digging into the dirt of the former site of the Tropicana. They had it was like a sandbox. They had this raised thing, and they were digging from that instead of the actual ground. But I understand it was ceremonial. I'm not going to get on them about that. There were, again, this is a point in the process. They had a bunch of cranes and bulldozers. Forgive me if I don't know all the terminology. This is not Locked On Construction. And everyone seemed to be there, say the right thing. It was odd that, evidently A's legends Raleigh Fingers and Dave Stewart were there, but they didn't speak. That seemed a little strange, especially if you're trying to connect with the A's past. And also, one of the reasons why I've been skeptical of Las Vegas as a site is baseball fandom is local, and also people stay with their teams if they move. I haven't lived in New England since Ronald Reagan was president, but my loyalty still remains to the Red Sox. I know people who live here in California who stayed loyal to the Cubs, the Cardinals, the Orioles, the Yankees, the Mets, the Phillies, the Braves, because that's the team they grew up on. And the local politician, Steve Yeager, said, I'm still going to be a Tiger fan, but I'm also going to hope the A's do well. And I thought, geez, if you're sticking your loyalties, even at an A's groundbreaking situation, this is a politician who has a lot to gain by the A's success here. What's that going to mean to the casual fan living in Las Vegas? But I digress. I said I would give the A's credit when they had a groundbreaking ceremony and cranes and trucks show up, and they did. It was a ceremony. And this is certainly a step in the direction of an A's stadium being built in Las Vegas. But there weren't a lot of questions asked. The press was there to basically applaud at the cheap applause lines and then move on. There's a ton of questions to be asked, and do you know what? Quite frankly, this ceremony didn't clear a lot of them up. Hey, did you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, there were all these streaming services and other subscriptions that I forgot even existed. And now, instead of juggling multiple apps, I can use Monarch to check my finances, track spending, and even make long-term goals. And you can manage money with your partner smoother as you have shared personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. I'm not a cynical person by nature, but if you've earned that cynicism, do you know what? I'm going to bring it up. Yes, the ceremony today was lovely and fine. There are gigantic questions that need to be answered. And this building behind me right here, PayPal Park, the home of your San Jose Earthquakes of Major League Soccer, is a wonderful illustration of why I'm not 100% buying what happened today. John Fisher owns the Earthquakes. Got them when they were, the league was relatively new. The Earthquakes have become, as successful as you could want to have, I suppose. I don't really follow Major League Soccer, and I know that they haven't moved around. They have a park here. They have a following. And Fisher will want to sell the team for hundreds of millions of dollars. So he's going to make a great, great profit from that. But when you start selling off assets, when you're trying to pay for another giant asset, it tells me something. It tells me that, well, you don't have all the money yet. Why would you be selling the earthquakes if you had everything lined up? Now, not everything's lined up. And in fact, we don't even know what the costs are at this point. Let's be honest. We keep hearing it's going to be $1.7 billion. And that number has changed a little bit. But do we know that's what it's going to cost? Wasn't that number placed before some of the tariffs began? And a lot of things have been happening in the world? Aren't a lot of those things have to be materials that need to be imported? And what about the partners? We heard that John Fisher was going to sell off shares of the A's, sell off bits and pieces of them at an evaluation of, I think, the gross national product of the entire European Union. You know, because the A's are going to be a super valuable franchise. And has he done that? I think the fact that he's selling the earthquakes here is a little bit of a tell that maybe he doesn't have all the money lined up. And that this is the sort of thing, the money that you would get from the earthquakes would be something to keep the project afloat as he continues to look for investors. But I'm sorry, isn't this the sort of thing that you get yourself concerned about before you put the ceremonial shovels into the ground? And let's talk about the ceremonial shovels into the ground. I've had a couple of people post on my YouTube page when I've talked about the A's situation and the construction of the ballpark and me saying, I'll believe it when I see it. I've had more than one person saying, hey, construction's already begun. Has it? The grading of the dirt, what used to be the Tropicana Hotel, and digging a few holes in the ground and prepping the foundation is not laying down a foundation. Have the plans been approved? We know that they've been kicking the construction and at least the groundbreaking down the road for literally months. This ceremony took place in late June. Wasn't it supposed to take place in March, April, May? They barely got under the wire for July. And if all the money is lined up, wouldn't they be announcing that like crazy? Seriously, if for no other reason than to get goodwill going on in Las Vegas. The will is terrible in Oakland, obviously, and it's not that much better in Sacramento, where you're not allowed to refer to them as the Sacramento A's, and there's virtually no presence of the A's in the city. I've been there. Yeah, you'll see a couple A's posters here and there, but for a chance to have a city that's been wanting to be a Major League Baseball city for a long, long time, to say, hey, come see your team. They're not drawing better in Sacramento than they were in Oakland. You can look it up. And so, if you want to have some goodwill, at least have that goodwill be in freaking Las Vegas. And say, hey, we got the money. It's real. It's going to happen. We're not seeing that. We're seeing a ceremony where Manfred, who has been enabling this whole disaster for the last few years, they should have built in the parking lot in the Oakland Coliseum, or maybe here somewhere here in San Jose. If we had a commissioner, we'd be able to do something about that. It's been a while since we've had a baseball commissioner. I digress. But we've seen this ceremony, but there's so many questions. A couple of golden shovels into the ground is not construction. Do they have the vendors lined up? I don't mean the people selling the hot dogs. I'm talking about like the people who are going to be putting money into the stadium for, like, this is the JetBlue Lounge. This is the such and such kitchen. This is the such and such, deck. That's why they're called that, because they put money into it. There's one thing we have learned about John Fisher, other than the fact that he's a Nepo baby, is that he doesn't like to spend money. He's got money, we think. I don't know how the Gap stock is doing these days. He's got money, but he doesn't like to spend it. Even this year when he went on a spending spree to sign Luis Severino and extend the contracts of Brett Rooker and for Lawrence Butler, he did that because if he didn't put money into the payroll, he wouldn't be able to pick up the $75 million of revenue sharing. So in the end, yeah, he got a $100 million payroll or whatever it was. But he got a $75 million rebate, so he's still not spending huge money. He gets to play rent-free in Sacramento. He gets to suckle from the NBC TV deal, which he would have lost if they moved to Nevada. So he's getting all this free money, and the idea that he's going to be dipping into his pockets to pay for this is absurd. So with the horrible will and the terrible press and the earned mistrust over the years, you would think to get investors, to get people excited, that he would be announcing left and right, we have a new partner for this, we have a new partner for that, we're on our way, and did I mention we're on our way? And we're not seeing that. We're hearing vague things. We're hearing promises. We're seeing renderings. I did a whole video, I think it was last year or maybe the year before. There have been no shortage of videos and renderings and drawings and simulations and AI things and sketches of that, of ballparks here in San Jose, across the bay in Fremont. There was the Howard Terminal, Mills College, Jack London Square, downtown, and the Coliseum City that they were going to build. All of them were beautiful. Oh my God. Fantastic. Great drawings. Fabulous. And then you have this, the Sydney Opera House design that they're doing for the Las Vegas A's. It looks cool. I'll go to it. You bet. Is it happening? A couple of shovels in the ground doesn't mean it's necessarily happening. And yes, I will admit I'm taking this bit of information from a Brody Brazil video that I'm a big fan of Brody Brazil and his YouTube channel, I will admit. But he pointed out one of his videos, and I looked it up, and it was pretty true. I like pretty true. We're living in a pretty true era. That the A's had to show that they're making progress on the stadium. Otherwise, the public money that they're going to be getting could be revoked. So is that what this was today? It's got a couple of shovels. Hey, look at that. Look at that. We're in our sandbox. We're making progress. Look at that. Because if they didn't do that, then would the purse strings for the Nevada public money be pulled away? There's one thing we know about John Fisher, and that is he loves spending other people's money. And regarding the earthquakes here, you know, he could want to sell them, absolutely. He'd want to put them on the market and use that money to help keep the stadium project afloat while he gets other investors. But here's the deal. The great irony is he can't put the team on PayPal. He can't put the team on eBay. The thing is, they have to find a buyer. They don't have one yet. And when they get the buyer, it's not just kind of like, here's the money. Okay, now thank you. There has to be a process. It has to be approved. There's capital gains taxes and everything like that. And so even him announcing that he's selling stuff at a proverbial garage sale to keep the stadium afloat doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. I'm sorry. You know, I've tried to be positive and open-minded in that first segment. But the fact of the matter is, this cynicism is earned. And when someone who has not been forthright and not been straightforward and not been honest starts being really vague and doing stuff in a weird manner, sorry, The benefit of the doubt has to be earned. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, or maybe even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. And unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. And the effects can last up to 36 hours. So you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Now, if traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. And you can read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. Head to rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB to get 15% off today. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and use promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing reviews. Please use Rugiet website for full safety information. I want to make one thing absolutely clear, okay? I want the A's to succeed. I want all 30 Major League Baseball franchises to succeed, okay? I'm not rooting for any team to fail. And what I mean by that is not necessarily on the field. Obviously, I'm rooting for this team to win or that team to lose or that thing or the other. But I'm talking about the franchise and the health of the franchise. I want all 30 teams to have a great fan base, to have terrific attendance. I want them to be in the right ballpark, in the right situation. I want the Rays to have a terrific stadium that they can play in and thrive for years to come. I want the A's to be in a situation that wherever they land, whether they come back to Oakland, I don't think that's happening, whether they stay in Sacramento, I think it's 50-50 there, whether they go to Las Vegas, Utah, Portland, or back to Philadelphia, I want them to succeed. And if they wind up getting the money, selling the Earthquakes, and building the stadium in Las Vegas, I want that stadium packed. I want the A's to be a thriving franchise. And yeah, if it means winning a World Series with John Fisher, fine. Because I want every baseball team to be in the right situation. I have said I'm not a fan of Las Vegas as a market. Now, it broke my heart to see the A's leave Oakland, but that ship has sailed. I think they could succeed in Sacramento if they embraced it. But I think there are other cities that are better equipped to be a Major League Baseball city than Las Vegas. I think Salt Lake City, I think Nashville, I think Portland. You can make the case for Vancouver, you can make the case for Austin, you can make the case for Montreal, you can make the case for Charlotte. And I think that once they figure out the A's situation, which they haven't, and once they figure out the Rays situation, which they haven't, baseball is going to expand by 2 teams, so you could have 32 teams. If it's Las Vegas, I would love to be proven wrong. I would love to eat crow. I would love to be like, wow, I didn't think it would succeed, but it did. I would love to look up and say, oh man, I didn't think that that club would have an advantage there, but they did. I didn't want the Supersonics to leave Seattle. And I said, what are they doing? They're never going to succeed in Oklahoma City. And they did. Look at that. They're the champions. And they've had some wonderful success there. Seattle still deserves an NBA team, but that's a different podcast. Check out Locked On NBA for that. I want to eat crow about this. I want to be wrong. If this stadium in Las Vegas is indeed built, and I'm sorry, folks, that's still an if it's indeed built, I want it to be one of the great attractions of all Las Vegas. And the A's, who have been nomadic as if they've been led by Moses and wandering the desert ever since Connie Mack was too senile to run the team anymore, and his sons were basically destroyed the Philadelphia A's. And every place they landed, there's a weird ownership, whether it's the sons of Connie Mack or the Johnson family basically treating them as a farm team for the Yankees, or Charlie O'Finley doing Lord knows what with the team and having some success along the way, and having the Haas family give the A's their greatest run and their greatest ownership, and then this nonsense we're having with the Fishers. The A's have been a nomadic franchise. I would love them to find their home. If their home is indeed Las Vegas, and this thing wasn't just a ceremony to get make sure that the public money clock has been reset, and that all of a sudden Fisher has all of the investors, I will eat crow. I will eat crow and do it gladly. I want the A's to succeed. Every team, I want them in the right stadium, in the right situation. I want baseball healthy. I want every franchise healthy. I want every franchise having at least the means, the stadium and the fan base, to put a quality product on the field, so then we can just focus on the product on the field instead of the other factors that happen. I'd love to be wrong. I just don't think I am. But we will see. This was either part of the continued scam or a giant chapter towards permanency for the A's in a home. And we're not going to find out this year. And we're probably not going to find out next year. And there's no way anyone can look me in the eye and say this thing is going to be ready by 2028. So there's going to be several years left in Sacramento. But, just so you know, I'm thinking about buying the Earthquakes. So, thanks so much for making Locked On MLB your first listen. For your second listen, keep it right here on the channel and check out Locked On MLB Game Time, where you get local analysis at a national level. Watch it on YouTube or listen to it wherever you get your podcasts. Talking about the A's groundbreaking ceremony, as it was in Las Vegas, from the site of the other John Fisher Bay Area team that actually has a ballpark. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.